What is up guys, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're looking at r/slash ProRevenge. If you're new here, would you please consider hitting that like, maybe that subscribe, and possibly even that notification bell, and that is if you enjoy the content of course. And with that being said, let's get straight into today's stories. Much love guys. Our first story is from Mike Buin. Students pranked me, I had the last laugh. I spent about 10 years teaching high school humanities at a small private school. For my first 2 years, I didn't have a classroom, just a small office. I'd bring what I needed for each class on a cart and go from room to room, depending on which teacher had a prep at any given time. This was incredibly inconvenient and, not being the most organised of teachers to begin with, made things difficult to keep track of. There were a group of 11th grade boys that decided to make things a little more difficult for me. They were good kids, we got along well. I coached several of them on the school soccer team, but they decided that since my office would often be empty, it was a great place to prank. It was never anything too serious, things falling over when I opened the door, or things disappearing for the day and then turned up in a different place the next day. Nothing was ever damaged, and I could never prove who it was, even though I knew. My school had mandatory final exams in each academic course. I didn't really think they were necessary, so I'd generally make them pretty easy with a lot of preparation. I would give out study sheets and play review games for a couple of weeks before the test, and there were no reasons the students wouldn't do well on them. I had approval of admin to do this, as they weren't particularly fond of the final exam rule either. It was a school board policy. A few nights before the offending boys had their exams, I had a brainwave. I created a second exam. Gone were the multiple choice questions and obvious things from the review sheets. In their place came detailed questions about concepts that were briefly mentioned in class. Essay question after essay question, ambiguous questions with no clear answers, definitions of words that there were no way they knew. It took a couple of hours, but I laughed the whole time. When the test came, I had the special exams at the bottom of the pile and handed them out to each of the 4 or 5 boys. I told the vice principal what was happening and he insisted on being present. I started the timer and watched as the boys flipped over their papers. It was all I could do to keep a straight face. Eyes went wide. Heads were shaking, panic was setting in, especially as they saw their classmates flying through their exams. One of the boys raised their hand. Sorry, no questions during the final. You should be prepared based on your study sheets. I let them go for about 5 or 10 minutes of terror before I gathered the fake tests and gave them the real ones. They all passed with flying colours and never pranked my office again. It was glorious. What a legendary teacher though to do that. As he said, the initial exams, they didn't think much of them anyway, so I think it taught the boys a good lesson, right? The next story is from SkyShadowXX. You threaten my job, I take yours. I'm a huge fan of the sub, and I'm excited to share my story and add to the boiling pot of sweet revenge. This happened last year. I was about 6 months into a food service job at the time. I worked in my university's cafeteria, prepping and serving the food to the students. After closing, I took about 45 minutes to finish cleaning up my station and took another 10 to finish up one of my co-workers' sections that she needed a bit of help with. My supervisor had just left after closing to God knows where, leaving the rest of us to our devices, as he usually did. He was more the watch and rule type. After I had finished, I took a quick 5-minute trip to the bathroom, as I usually did around this time every day, as I happily walked back to assist in helping others finish so we could all leave. I hear a cough behind me, the sound of the calm before the storm. I ignore it, thinking nothing of it, and go on my way. I hear a more abrupt and I stop and turn on my heel to meet the shift supervisor's cold gaze, his hands across his puffed chest in his regal stance. I gave him a questioning look as he looks on, expecting me to read his mind. The supervisor says, "Half an hour?" he asked calmly, with a sour tinge to his tone. Me confused, I chuckle. Huh? This was apparently the worst thing I could have done. He said, "You were in the bathroom for half an hour," he yelled, stomping his royal foot. I was taken back, as he'd never come up with that sideways tone before. I thought we were cool, but I should have known better, seeing how he treated my co-workers. I was so shocked, I just stood there, staring at him like he grew 3 horns. I didn't feel the need to defend myself in the moment, as I knew the words he was spitting my way were pure BS. The supervisor said, "Do you like your job?" he demanded from me. I did not, in fact, like my job. I had trouble holding back my smile at this thought as he yelled some more things I don't remember, as my ears had gone numb to his screeching at this point. I knew he had no power to fire me, and I hadn't even seen his mug for the past hour. I knew his words had no consequence. I had nothing to say to this tantrum, and as soon as he realised that, he dismissed me. I have trouble egging people on when they're being so irrational, so I generally stay quiet and let them get out their baby fit. I quickly went back to my work and started scheming about how I could get back at this man. Over the next week, I compiled photo evidence of him slacking on the job, serving undercooked food, and statements from my co-workers about their individual experience where he ridiculed or threatened them, and I took it straight to my boss that Friday. I laid out all my evidence and my personal encounter, which they would be able to check the cameras and identify both of our whereabouts that day, and could see who was truly off duty for half an hour. I didn't think much would come of it, as I'm a relatively new worker, and honestly I didn't care about anything that happened to that hellhole. I let it slip from my mind for the weekend. The next Monday, I come in before most and start setting up. After a while, the general manager comes out the back with the supervisor following her like a puppy, staring at his feet. He walks sheepishly up to me and invites me to sit with him at one of the tables in the cafeteria, where he admits to me that he was in the wrong. Shouldn't have yelled at me like that, should have been a better leader, is super duper sorry, all that yada yada. I sat there with the biggest grin on my face as he practically grovelled at my feet, begging for forgiveness as his boss watched on. This man that sat so high on his horse for the past 6 months. I watched on in celebration as he apologised to each of my co-workers individually. Not but a week later, he was demoted to a backroom cook, and I had been given the role of shift supervisor. We never had a problem after that, and he was generally an okay guy. I hope he really did learn his lesson and didn't say all those things just to get it over with. Either way, this was the sweetest revenge of my life. I've since quit that job and work for a company with people who know how to respect others as individuals, whether their position is below or above their own. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this story as much as I enjoyed watching it happen. The next story is from Older Sparky. The Case of the Missing Cupcakes, a Sparky's Tale. We had an older hospital where, over time, we'd be upgrading their CCTV, security, door access, and nurse call/paging systems. I'd been at this company for a few years, but they'd been doing all the Sparky work here for over a decade, so we knew the whole place really well. The buildings, the people, the staff positions and job roles, everything. I worked there a lot, so I got to know the drama, politics, and secret affairs too. Also, voices carrying to ceiling spaces. This has been a public service announcement. I got to lead a team in building and maintaining each of the new systems. These systems have been chosen because they could all work together to achieve the client's needs and were networked. They were all standalone because government IT didn't want the third-party gear on their networks. We had to install infrastructure and equipment. I had network hubs all over the place where I could access all 4 of these systems. Summary, I had admin/installer access to 170 plus cameras, over 520 doors/gates, the security system, and the hospital-wide paging system. All names are changed, technical details have been simplified. One Tuesday, I was sitting at one of my network hubs doing regular testing/maintenance. I'd been checking the CCTV, watching Janine do that lopsided stumbling walk she does in high heels. I believe I'd done enough continuous work at 10 AM to deserve a treat. That morning, Nancy, a nurse in paediatrics, had brought cupcakes in for the ward staff. Nancy had kept 2 individually packaged cupcakes aside for me, clearly labelled with my name, in the ward staff room fridge. I walked the 5 minutes over to the ward, humming my "I'm about to have cupcake" song. It's based on a Proclaimers track. I'm not going to sing it. Opened the fridge, no cupcakes. I mean, there were maybe 20 still in their big clear Tupperware container, but mine weren't, not the ones Nancy set aside. Before I lose my shit altogether and flip that fucking fridge over, I better go and check see if something dire has happened. Maybe one of the kids needed these particular cupcakes to stay alive. Maybe these 2 cupcakes saved the planet. Work is forgotten and the investigation begins. I speak with Nancy. First, I asked if she saw that Janine was wearing her heels again. We both have a chuckle. Then I bring up the cupcake station. We go through the whole "they were there before" and the check-in of the fridge so Nancy can confirm my story. It's like she doesn't understand that I wouldn't joke about this. We begin interviews. No one on the ward is owning up. We believe them. Someone, not of this ward, has taken my cupcakes. Paediatrics nurses are livid. Myself and my team want answers. It's a funny thing. Once cameras and swipe door cards have been in for a while, people forget all about them, forget that they're always watched, forget that the doors have logs to see who went where and when, forget who put them all in. Back to the hub I go. A quick audit of the door access reveals that Jerry went in the staff room between the relevant times. Not yet. Don't lose your ever-loving shit just yet. Do the due diligence. Checking the CCTV, I see Jerry walking out of the staff room carrying a bag, wiping his mouth. Rewind, pause, zoom in. Frosting. The hub's rack did nothing wrong, so I step back and stare at the wall. The first 8 thoughts get caught by the filter. I calm down a little and head back to my nurses. They see me coming and gather. Sick kids are an afterthought in this matter. I tell them I know who did it, don't want to say who just yet, need some time to think, and ask if we can keep this all hush hush for now. They understand and immediately ask who it was. They are, after all, government staff. I head back to the hub to continue work, not walking 500 miles to eat cupcakes anymore. As I'm swiping my card across the reader, in that 1 second it takes the red light to turn green, a plan starts to play like a cinematic in my head. It's like my subconscious has known about this day for ages, and now it's premiering its devious feature. It screens the permutations, possible flaws, ramifications. I'm not sure how long I stared at the door, rewinding, pausing, fast forwarding. The plan is beautiful, and I promise my brain a cupcake soon. Jerry. Jerry was a general orderly who was supposed to float around the whole hospital, helping any ward and pretty much anyone else when they paged him. He didn't know. Jerry didn't like walking around. Jerry was lazy and did not like the patients. He used to work in the wards but couldn't find another one without close supervision or patience, so he moved to day shift general duties. Jerry hated to be made to walk from one end of the hospital to the other, and Jerry fucking hated the swipe cards and the electronic door locks. Some people just don't get technology. Some people just hate change and love to complain about it, while not taking the effort to learn how to work it. While responding to maintenance tickets, I had to listen to Jerry whinge numerous times about doors. For this, and other reasons, I did not like Jerry. Jerry knew my distinctive name, knew what I did here, saw the 20 cupcakes and ate mine anyway. Yeah, time to fuck with Jerry. At the time, I make the necessary improvements to my systems, select a variety of well-chosen doors, set auto-paging for different events, create different calendars, set some automated conditions so everything's swapped and changed around. Once I'm set up, with the program on hold, I go see Nancy. I need to give Jerry a chance to own up, even though I'm pretty sure he won't. I ask Nancy to page Jerry, so she can ask him about the cupcakes. Nancy isn't surprised it's Jerry, and is on board. The other nurses gather and ask what's happening. I tell them that Jerry is about to work off some of the belly. They aren't surprised it's Jerry either, and swear secrecy. I walk to the maintenance manager's office while Nancy summons Jerry. I go into the maintenance manager's office grinning. All he says is, "What?" with a smile. He knows me, we've worked closely together for a while. We're mates, and he's seen that look on my face before. I asked him to just print any maintenance tickets generated by Jerry for card/door/gate/pager issues, but not to action them. I pick them up while I'm here doing other work, and deal with them personally. When I tell him about the cupcakes and my plan, he's not only on board, he laughs so hard that he has a coughing fit for about 25 seconds. I head back to check in with Nancy and find that Jerry has, ever so accommodatingly, denied all knowledge. What I'd created in my system was a randomised intermittent program all focused on Jerry's card. A program that would send Jerry's pager a message to go somewhere on the other side of the complex, seemingly at random, based on Jerry swiping his card at particular doors. Or the gate to the staff car park wouldn't work, or his card would stop working, making him go get it revalidated, or a siren would sound for a few seconds when he entered certain rooms. I already knew all the staff routines and areas of responsibility. The patients wouldn't be adversely impacted, and Jerry did fuck all anyway. Back at the hub, I click the go buttons. Week 1. By Friday afternoon, in 4 days, Jerry had raised 18 tickets. I grabbed the stack of paper from the maintenance manager and went to the orderly's office to find Jerry. While I gently fanned the tickets, he listed all the weird things he'd been experiencing. He was explaining how the duty nurses were getting annoyed at his unexpected arrivals when I interrupted him, to ask if he'd seen anyone take my cupcakes from the paediatrics fridge on Tuesday. The puzzled face he put on was a head shorter than mine, and about 1 meter 3 feet away from the embroidered name on my shirt. No confession. I only had 50 specially selected doors active in the program these past 4 days. That Friday afternoon, at the end of week 1, I clicked the all button and added the other 470 plus doors. Week 2, by midday Wednesday, there were only 6 tickets raised. I checked the system logs and found out why. In just under 3 days, there'd been a mixture of over 85 events. Jerry didn't have time to lodge tickets. When I spoke to Jerry that Wednesday, he demanded that I do my damn job and fix this stuff, and why I hadn't done it yet. No confession, no apology, time for some head games. I told him I'd sort it out when I went to check the systems that Wednesday midday. I stopped the program. On Friday morning, I turned it back on again. Week 3. I let it run Monday, Wednesday and Thursday. I almost felt sorry for him this week when I was talking to him and considered stopping the plan. Then I remembered why I didn't like him so much. The one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that standing staring at that door, I already knew Jerry was in the final stages of disciplinary management. This was the linchpin to the plot of the film that ran through my head. Remember before when I said, I got to know the drama, politics and secret affairs too? I knew that one of the disciplinary warnings, among other things, was for taking people's lunches on 4 occasions, and not because he needed to either. That's the reason the nurses and maintenance manager weren't surprised it was Jerry and were on board. They knew too, everyone did. That was the reason why he didn't kick up a stink to his manager or confess. I didn't want to get him fired, just make him apologise. Cupcakes are serious business. The final week. Week 4 of the programme ran Monday and Tuesday. The plan was only ever going to be for a month, or until Jerry confessed and apologised. Before this Tuesday, I had a chat to Nancy. I'd ask her if she wouldn't mind a little cameo in a little vignette. She understood and agreed. When I was talking with Jerry in the orderly's office, Nancy arrived and handed me a personalised pair of cupcakes that looked and were packaged the exact same as the missing ones a few weeks earlier. As Nancy was walking away, now silent Jerry looked from the package to my shirt, then to me. I held up the tickets, mustered my best Adam Hills, and said, "Don't be a dick, mate." He was silent and very angry. I could see he'd realised that I'd been doing this on purpose. If he made an official complaint, the missing cupcakes would come up and he'd lose his job. Also during chats, he heard me say intermittent issues many times. Jerry was angry because he knew he couldn't do a fucking thing about it. I walked off to the paediatrics ward where Nancy and I were going to eat these treats. I hummed my tune the whole way. Loose ends? Unfortunately, Jerry was a dick one more time. He got sacked 2 months later for taking more stuff out of the fridge. I felt bad for him as I helped security save the footage to the drive. As I was walking up to paediatrics on that last Tuesday of the plan, I stopped the program and took Jerry's page and number out of it. I had to scrap the program altogether a while later. Some bright hospital spark finally convinced government IT to add the systems to the hospital's intranet. Sysadmins are killjoys, maybe rightfully so. Maybe. Janine continued to wear the 4-inch heels on and off until she sprained her ankle. There is no showreel. Maintenance manager tried bribing me with Jack Daniels after this episode to add a certain page numbers to the program. There's no way I could have done that. He's an evil bastard. We drank the Jacks as we didn't want to watch a non-existent showreel. Nancy totally fancied me, and I mean, after all, she's only human. Nancy didn't fancy me, I just wish she did. Thank you for reading. I love that guy, he's awesome. Anyway guys, I'd just like to thank you for being here. If you did enjoy today's story, tell me which one was your favourite in the comments below. And tell me if you would go that far for a cupcake. Much love, thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Take care now.